Good morning. Hey, Kevin. It was a good morning. Yet I expect some people. I said, Lord, man, they're not Cliff this morning. Well, not that they were used to Cliff on a Friday. This is usually Tyrone's morning. But because we're going to have a short morning for Cliff Hughes Online today, I'm just closing out the week. So all your favorites will be back next week in this slot. And who knows? I may be back where the people really appreciate me. Hey, them people in the ramp making them feel appreciated, you know. You understand? Them not hide it, you know. You understand? Boy, I tell you, a prophet is without honor in his own land. That's what them say, Kevin. Mercy. But it's alright. Those of you who are tired of me, or soon after tired of me no more, you see? Your boss is back. We had a meeting with him yesterday. Online. I hope in trim can head full of grey hair. See him on the Zoom and I said, what from you know you never see so much grey hair yet? So apparently him not just a Chinese barber them, so if I come back to Jamaica, come give him barber the work. So he will be in fine form to go on Monday morning for certain. If all holds, he should be back. Yeah? As predicted, Shane Mark said, thank God, tired of George and I cry. Morning, Shane. Morning, sir. Morning. Yes. So today is, I don't even know what today is because the argument was settled from Thursday, but people still are up same way and they've asked me to do again what I did yesterday. To beat up some little youth. So, all right. That will happen at 10:30. But serious time now. Listeners, I give it this one on this my last morning with you. Because in moments like these, you ask yourself, you know, how can processes take this long? How can resolving such a matter as important as this, well, at least the public thinks it's important. I myself think it's important as an individual taxpayer, a person who's involved, who's rather interested in seeing good superintendents of public sector bodies. I'm wondering, why is this thing taking so long? I'm like a fast bowler this morning, running in with the cherry in my hand. And you know the way, was it Walsh or Bishop? One of them was notorious among West Indies quicks for using his other hand to run with it in such a way that it hid the ball from the batsman, so he couldn't pick up which side the shine is on to try to work out which way it would swing. I think it may have been more Bishop than Cuddy, because Cuddy's running was a little bit different. But I'm doing that this morning in this way. So I've said to you that I'm not concerned, but tired now of how long this is taking. It might very well be that it's taking long for good reason. But I am upset that on this day in sports, certainly I don't know the reason. And because you depend on us for your news, if we don't know the reason here at Nationwide, or in the media for that matter, chances are you, the public, don't know the reason either. That's the part that upsets me. It may very well be that when it is explained, the delay, the reasons for the delay make sense. But at the same time, you say, boy, you should have been communicating to us. But somebody will say, well, yes, but this was happening during a very, very competitive, to say the least, election campaign. And that excuse is valid, I would say. So I'm not beating up those who should be communicating with us. But I still feel as if I should know on this day in sports. So I'm running in with the cherry in my hand and I'm hiding it a little bit. Bear with me. Let me define what administrative leave is. And although I know what administrative leave is, and although I refreshed my memory and understanding of what administrative leave is by a dictionary or a textbook definition, I still took the time this morning to call and speak with, off air, one of our senior trade unionists. Disturbed the man's breakfast, just to say, what's the working understanding of administrative leave? And all that he said aligned with what I knew before I called him, but I felt so much better after calling him to hear from his voice what administrative leave is. So administrative leave is when an employee of a government entity, and I define it, I narrow it down to government because we're talking about government business now. An employee is separated from their job with pay pending an internal investigation into a matter concerning conduct. That's what the man affirmed to me that administrative leave is in the government context where it concerns government employees. So I said to him, so is there any protection for the individual sent on leave to say that, boy, this thing is taking too long and, you need to make a decision so we can know how to go on? He said, but of course, George. And that's the sad part of it. Because this employee is still waiting. And I said, in my mind, and the public is still waiting. So some of you are such very good batsmen and batswomen that may try hide the ball on the seat. As of this day, it's been 714 days since the board of the National Water Commission sent its CEO or instructed that its Chief Executive Officer, Mark Barnett, proceed on administrative leave. That came out of a board meeting on October 13, 2023. So from that point till now, today, September 26, 714 days. And after 714 days of investigation and related exercises and procedures, Nationwide News holds its hand up to say, we don't know what's happening with the investigation into the conduct of Mark Barnett, which necessitated him being sent on administrative leave by the board of directors of the National Water Commission. I don't know about you. I find that to be not desirable at all. Totally undesirable. 714 days. For those of you who forget, and I don't expect the Nationwide listeners and viewers to forget, but anyway, if there are newcomers among us, let me tell them. It was consequent upon a report from the Integrity Commission into a property that Mark Barnett had developed, Charlemont Drive in St. Andrew, Kingston 6 to be precise. And they alleged breaches as affirmed by as stated, as claimed by the Director of Investigations of the Integrity Commission. It was after that report, the details of which made for very unflattering reading if you were Mark Barnett, that the board decided to act. And so for 714 days, us, the taxpayers, have been paying Mark Barnett, and there have been at least two people who've acted as CEO and have been acting as CEO since he was sent on administrative leave. And nobody knows how close we are to getting a resolution to this matter. Now, it is important, I believe, for the record to show. Some would have you believe that because of the difficulties and the circumstances, i.e. that damaging report from the Integrity Commission, which caused the board of the NWC to send Mark Barnett on administrative leave, that Mark Barnett was some form of cancer at the NWC. That is not true. Mark Barnett did some excellent work at the National Water Commission. Those are facts. The performance of the entity, its financial position, its cash flow, a more responsive NWC, all of those things happened with Mark Barnett's hand on the pump. Pun intended. And so we must not forget that, because in these moments, we all make it seem as if, yes, it's a bad man and this, that, and we say worse and him for go away, and you know how we are. But let's not do that. The things which caused him to get in trouble with his board are public knowledge. And however you view that is your business. But the fact of his performance at NWC, I don't think it can be questioned insofar as how he led the organization and how his leadership helped the organization to become better at the bread and butter and halibut and caviar things that it had to deal with week in, week out and on special occasions. Mark Barnett led the NWC well, in my view. And he certainly was very accessible to the media whenever there were serious issues to discuss. Never hid. Always ready to provide an explanation, to provide context, to answer questions, even in tough moments. And you have to credit him for that. But 714 days collecting the money. He's being paid, not working. In 714 days, Mark Barnett has not lifted a finger to earn $1 of what he has been paid. So how should the public accept that? And in terms of pay, when you look at the NWC's annual report for 2020, and these aren't the latest numbers, obviously, and these numbers don't include what the new thing is based on the public sector salaries reorganization, a reclassification. Yeah? Restructuring is a better word. In 2020, Mark Barnett's base salary was $11.15 million. Add to that a gratuity of $2.78 million, a traveling allowance of $2.78 million, pension of $2.36 million, other allowances, housing, robing, etc., $1.67 million. Non-cash benefits, group insurance, $211,000, for a total annual payment out of the public purse of $20.93 million in the 2019-2020 fiscal year, according to the NWC's annual report for 2020. Of course, you mark up the salary a whole heap of time, because the increases that public servants would have gotten, he would have benefited as well, so the salary gone way above that. So I set these out to ask the question of the government this morning. What is happening with Mark Barnett? And to the NWC, which is leading and conducting that internal investigation. Remember, this is not a criminal matter. Internally. What is it that you've been looking into for 714 days that you can't see yet? How is the picture obscured? How much more time will you need to look so we can determine what's going to happen to the NWC? Because while Mark Barnett is getting his pay, somebody else is doing the work and getting paid. So it's just a question this morning on behalf of Jamaicans who find this whole situation undesirable, given that it has run for so long. We need information this morning. NWC, Government, Water Minister Matthew Samuda, over to you.